Today we're talking with Carol Caggiano, a well-known and respected figure in the industry who's announced that she's retiring. Carol started her career as a 17-year-old as a part-time employee at a flower shop in Long Island. She later co-owned that shop with her husband, and after 37 years, they sold the shop in 2002. Since then, she's stayed active in the industry as a freelancer and a consultant for Florists and Teleflora. She's also the recipient of SAF's Tommy Bright and Paul Ecke Jr. awards. Carol, thanks for being with us today. You have such a storied career in the industry, so let's start at the very beginning. How did you come to the floral industry as a 17-year-old?
Good morning, Amanda. Yeah, that was really something. I was looking for a part-time job. I was on a path to be an architect and getting ready to kind of head in that direction. And my father came home one day and said, that new flower shop that opened up in town is looking for help. I was talking to the owner today, and he said, if you come by, he's more than likely going to hire you. I said, okay. So I put myself on path and went up there the next day and introduced myself, said my father sent me. I was so sophisticated in those days. And the owner of the store said, well, do you know anything about flowers? And I said, no. He said, would you like to learn? I said, sure. At 17, how hard could flowers possibly be? So I decided that was a good way to go. Well, started, and it was crazy. It was busy. Every day was a new adventure. I decided this was something for me, changed my direction, went to floral design school, continued working at the flower shop, and married the boss. So that set me on a path for 37 years
Right.
that we ended up working the store together. So it was something.
Oh, it's such a great love story, and especially because we're recording this video on Valentine's Day.
Yes, and notice I am retired because I'm sitting here talking to you on Valentine's Day
Yeah.
rather than being working in the store. So you can see I really mean it.
Yes, yeah, you're doing good with this retirement thing. So, you guys were able to sell the shop relatively young, I would say, for the floral industry. How, or I guess, what were key factors that made that possible? And what advice would you give to others who are kind of at that stage where they're wanting to do that?
Well, we had kind of a unique situation. My husband was a pretty smart guy, and he set the store. I remember him telling me that when he decided to name the shop, he named it after the town we lived in rather than his name. And
Hmm.
his reason for doing that was he wanted it to be a saleable entity without him. And I always thought that was pretty wise. And we sort of kept that philosophy through our years of business. We owned our property, we owned the real estate in addition to the shop. We always kept those entities separate so that when the time came we wanted to sell, each had its own value and one was not reliant on the other. So many things like that. We set up benefit program for our employees, knowing that times were going to change, and to stay competitive in the field, we needed to be a good place to work. And I think we achieved that over the years with the help of people like SAF and the associations that we belong to, because we learned very early we needed help. So I think we set ourselves up along the way. I don't think it's something you can just decide one morning when you wake up and it's your 60 something or 70 something's birthday and decide, okay, now I want out. I think that's a tough way to go about it.
Hmm. Yeah. So you've had a really dynamic career going from florist to freelancer, consultant. What inspired that transition?
Wow. I think life in general. You and I were talking a little bit earlier, and I firmly believe this, that life takes you where you need to be. You just have to pay attention. And if you pay attention and take advantage of the opportunities in front of you, good things happen. And starting way back with my dad and coming home that day and saying, there's an opportunity for you for a job in a fun place. I took it. And then when I was there, I just did my best the whole time, because that's the way I was raised, but also because I wanted to, because it was something that I loved.
Mhm.
I think that's really, really important, to just put your best foot forward all the time. And it's amazing what will happen.
How did you get into freelancing and consulting?
Well, having experienced all the ups and downs and growing pains of building a business myself, and also being involved in associations and being with other people, like through SAF, I realized that there was an opportunity there to share my experiences with others and maybe shortcut it for them. Maybe they don't have to do it the hard way like we did, by actually doing all the hard lifting and pulling and everything that we did to make our businesses grow. Because we were successful, maybe that was a good opportunity for me to share, or maybe, as we say, give back,
Mhm.
where I could make it easier for someone else. And I want to think I did. There'd be times when you get so frustrated and you'd say, like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not helping anybody. And then all of a sudden somebody would come up to you and say, thank you so much. I was really down a few years ago and you helped me out and things are going well. And I can't thank you enough. And oh, that just made you feel so good. Like, wow, all that was really worth it.
Yeah.
And that would give you the inspiration to go a little further and try a little harder and do some more. So I think that was how the transitions were made from one to another. And again, it wasn't something I actually went after. It was just something that came to me, opportunity. I felt I had the experience and the ability to share, and I did. And it 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 just worked out.
I would imagine all of those reasons are why you were honored with the Tommy Bright Award and the Paul Ecke Jr. Award. How did it feel to be the recipient of those? What did that mean to you?
I think being honored by your peers is and recognized by your peers for what you might have contributed is probably the greatest honor that you can have from a professional point of view. And I just remember it just warmed my heart. It just made me feel worthwhile, I guess, and it made you feel that all the work and effort that you put into it really did make a difference. And a lot of the people that stood there and applauded and smiled at me while the award was being presented, and I looked at them and their achievements and what they had done, and felt that they were taking the time and the energy to honor me, was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever
Oh, it gives me chills.
had.
I'm curious because you've been in the industry for so long, what changes you've seen take place, since you entered it as a 17-year-old to
Oh,
today.
wow. What a wild ride it's been. When I started, you could only buy flowers in a flower shop. That was it. Big box stores didn't exist. 800 phone numbers didn't even exist. And credit cards were a thing of, who knew what those were? So your customers dealt with you in cash, a very strange thing these days. And you actually sent bills that you wrote and they paid them. So it was a very different way of doing business. However, it was also very personal. You had a connection with each and every customer because you either talked to them on the phone or you talked to them in person. There
Mhm.
was no text, no internet, no any of those kind of things. And because people buy flowers for emotional reasons, when you really think about it, every floral purchase is made by an emotional trigger. They're happy, they're sad, they want to share, they want to make somebody feel better, they want to say thank you, they're in big trouble and they want to get out of it. And that's a big one, by the way. Or it's a holiday, or you're having company and you want your house to look great, whatever it is, it's emotionally driven. And I think in today's technology and things like that, it's really hard, it's really easy to lose that. And I think as a result, a lot of our customer base and people like to buy and send flowers have kind of lost that connection. So I think that's one of the biggest changes I've seen. Yes, we've had all kinds of crazy changes. Big box stores came in. The biggest, I think, was FedEx. The average brick and mortar flower shop owned same day, next day floral delivery or gift delivery of any kind. Because
Mm-hmm.
before FedEx started overnight delivering, if you forgot grandma's birthday in Wisconsin, the only way you were going to get out of trouble was to send flowers because it was the only vehicle open to you to do that. Now, the flower industry is competing with anybody that can put something in a box or an envelope and send it
Mm-hmm.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, so I wonder if maybe one of the things that today's florist needs to continue to work on is the personal connection because of the emotional connection of selling flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to do today. It came to us naturally back in the 60s and 70s. Today you have to work at it. But anyway, it's just something that I think that we need to think about.
Well, it's great insight. And it's also a great transition to my next question, which is, fast forward to today. What are the most successful florists that you're working with, talking to, doing?
They're not trying to do it all by themselves. I think one of the things I found where florists get kind of muddled and kind of stuck in the muck and mire is they try to do everything themselves. We all have skills. We all have skill sets. Some of us in design, some of us in business, some of us in management, some of us in marketing and advertising. And when one person tries to be all those things, it's very rarely successful. The businesses that I've seen that have survived a lot of the upheavals our industry has experienced over the last, say, 50 years are the ones that have reached out. They belong to associations. They're community connected. They're constantly trying to improve and learn from others. They network with others. They hire people that are better at certain things than they are. I know great designers, ones that, just are amazing, that have lost businesses multiple times because they're not business people. They're
Mm-hmm.
fabulous, absolutely extraordinary designers, but not business people. I know business people that couldn't put a rose in a bud vase, but are doing well because they hired somebody to do that because they're going to work on their expertise. There was a saying years ago by a gentleman, Michael Gerber, who wrote a book that I thought was just an amazing book called The E-Myth. And his one phrase was, we spend too much time working at our work and not enough time working at our business. And I think the businesses that are successful are the ones that have worked at their business and included others to help with the work so that the business is successful overall. And I think that's something that we need to kind of keep forward thinking or in the front of our mind. And those that are really, really successful, I find, have done that.
So, last question for you.
Sure.
What's next? What are you going to be doing 6 months from now?
I think part of it, I'm looking for two things, just to be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more spontaneous. My calendar has always been packed. And if somebody said to me, let's have lunch, I'd say, great. 4 weeks from Friday, I'm available, things like that. I'm close with my neighbors. I'd like to be able to reach out more and help when somebody needs it and not be, oh, I wish I could help, but I have to work today. Spend more time with family, and travel a little bit more just for fun, where I don't have to bring my tools and all kinds of work clothes and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
And who knows? Like I said, life always puts things in your path. So I have a feeling some things will come along
Yeah.
that will give me an opportunity to maybe try something new, do something new, or use something that I know already that could be of help. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for you. I know others in the industry are as well, and can't wait to see what's next for you.
Well,
So,
thank you, Amanda, and a special thank you, of course, to SAF